If you've been looking for healthy and easy meal prep ideas made using foods you actually like to make meals you will actually enjoy, you're in the right place. I'm Lisa, and I meal prep something different every single week. I use a lot of the same ingredients week to week, but I change the flavors drastically. I cook high protein, nutrient dense foods without food rules, and I use meal prep to save money and time in my busy life. I love sharing my process in an approachable way so that you too can start meal prepping and see the positive impact it will have on your life. I share my tips and tricks to make meal prep as seamless as possible, and I'll also always share what I mess up with so you don't have to. Welcome to the meal prep perspective. So far in this video, I started some white rice in the rice cooker, and now I'm making my blender waffle recipe. I started off with oatmeal in the blender to make oat flour. That's what you're seeing here. Then I'll add in my other ingredients. I'll add in milk and then follow that with Greek yogurt. This is what makes these high protein. Well, this is part of what makes them high protein and also really, really delicious. I definitely used to be one of those people that always tried to healthify every recipe. You know what I'm talking about? Making a ton of swaps or making a clean, healthy, organic version of something instead of just following a classic recipe that uses more traditional ingredients. Now I try to add in nutrient-dense ingredients where I can. So if a swap makes sense, I'll do it, but not because it has to be a clean version. Getting my master's degree in public health nutrition and studying nutritional epidemiology definitely helped to further my understanding of food and nutrients, both on an individual level and a population level. And now that's why I cook the way I do. Nutrient and protein forward, but no food rules. And I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this, so leave a comment if you have any food rules or if you've gotten rid of food rules or what you think about this topic, because it is one that I am truly passionate about. And back to our blender waffles. You can see I'm almost done with the yogurt here. You can probably also see that I didn't measure it perfectly, but it's fine. It turned out amazing. Next, I'm going to add in my eggs, another high protein ingredient. I'm adding honey next. You could sub syrup, maple syrup, agave, whatever you have. I prefer honey, so I'll use that, and then I'll follow with baking powder and baking soda. A lot of times when I'm using baking powder and baking soda, I will sift it just because I hate all of those I hate the clumps in baking soda. What I do when I don't want to sift it is I just kind of press down where I'm going to scoop it up and see if there's any lumps. So like you can see on a few of these, I was like, oh, not happy with that. So I continued just kind of moving it around until I was satisfied. And I finally just kind of gave up and just made sure it wasn't in a clump, and then added it in. But this is not the most exact recipe ever. So if you sift it, if you measure it perfectly, it'll be fine. Promise. And here I'm using my teaspoon because my tablespoon was dirty, already wet, I forget, but I didn't have my tablespoon, so I used my teaspoon. So yeah, adding those in, and then we're gonna follow it. I don't think I've said what flavor I'm making yet. So I'm making cinnamon roll. Well, it's not technically a roll, but it reminds me of a cinnamon roll, and I have something really fun I'm adding when I go to make the waffles and then as a topping, so you'll have to wait and see what I do. Next, I'm adding in my protein powder. It's just vanilla flavored, but really kind of contributes to that really cinnamon roll vibes. Definitely use a protein powder that you like. I can link the one that I prefer if you guys want me to. Just let me know and I'll add a link so you can see what I prefer. And I'll add some salt next. You guys know I always shake up my salt caddy. What is it called? Salt? I can't remember. I always shake my salt container. Salt cellar. Whew. Wow. Glad I remembered that. I would have been haunted by that, y'all. So I'm gonna scrape down some of my blender sides just so that everything will blend up seamlessly. I'll toss that onto the blender and I'll give the pitcher a scrape down, and then we'll get moving on to the next. Also, just a fun little side note, I love my mini spatulas, scrapers, whatever you call them. I love them. I have a mini whisk as well. You've probably seen me bust that out from time to time again, but it just makes something like this really easy because it can kind of fit into the nooks and crannies and the crevices. So if you don't have those, keep an eye out for them because I feel like they're a kitchen game changer. I'll pop the lid back onto this, give it another spin, and then we're gonna get started on that special little touch that I mentioned earlier. We're gonna make a fun little topping for our cinnamon roll waffles, and you're gonna see how I incorporate it into the waffles as well, because that made all the difference. And I was really trying to think about something I could do to make these fun and special, and like something that would be, I don't know, a little bit different too. So I'll add my brown sugar in, and then I'll follow with a bunch of cinnamon. Yes, you really want this much. You want it to be really concentrated. And then I'll follow that with some honey. And the same thing applies here. You can use a different sweetener if you prefer. I just used honey because that's what I had. I probably could have used maple syrup. That actually might have mixed even better than this because the honey was still kind of thick. It was a little difficult to mix. So I actually ended up adding some milk in a minute. You'll see that. But if you used a maple syrup or something else, you might not also need the milk added in. And you'll also see I just added the tiniest little baby splash, just a tiny little bit. I figured I could always add more as needed, but you'll see in a second the texture that I come to, and it really turned out to be the exact texture that I wanted for what I wanted to do with this. Here's what it looks like when I finished mixing. It's definitely got some lumps, but it's fine. It's gonna be perfect for what we're doing. Next, my mini waffle iron is already hot. It's preheated, and then I'm gonna spray some coconut oil spray, and then I'll add in my batter. I made this first one as an example to show y'all, and then I passed this task off to my husband, so thanks for his help. He's not always home when I meal prep. He was today, so he jumped in to help, but please note, doing this can take a lot of time, so just a little caveat there. Now comes the fun part. We're gonna add in our little cinnamon syrup mixture. This is really what's gonna take these to the next level. So we're gonna drizzle that in, just enough to kind of cover the whole waffle. Then we'll close, we'll wait for the magic to happen, and truly it is magic. Because I sprayed it with a cooking spray, it didn't stick. Don't forget that step. And this is how I serve the waffles for breakfast, what I paired it with. I added an express egg on the side, and then used the waffles to make little egg tacos. And of course I had to add some hot sauce. One of you lovely subscribers asked if I usually just eat the meals the exact way that I show them, or if I add anything. But in the past, I would start working at 5:30 or 6 a.m. almost every day, and eating most of my meals at work just made sense. But right now I have more flexibility, so I would just eat them as I prepared them, but that was mostly out of necessity because I was already at work and I didn't have time to add anything, and commuting in New York, there's no way I would bring a raw egg with me, and I usually would bike to work, so that would have been quite an adventurous commute with a raw egg. But I'm happy to keep sharing this content while I have this flexibility. This might even be a better fit for some of you all who want some things that you can make quickly at home. And I can also start sharing some of my snacks as well, because I haven't really included those here on YouTube. So let me know in the comments if you want more snack ideas. Also, you're probably laughing because this was so hot and I kept burning my fingers. But I really wanted to show you guys what I was making and how I was serving it, so this was divine. Seriously, make these waffles. They're so good. And now we're moving on to lunch, where I have another TikTok hack for y'all. We'll say this one, compared to the cauliflower hack, this was good, but that one was great. So this one was good, but the cauliflower one was life-changing. So for this one, I got this rotisserie chicken from Costco. Thankfully in New York, you can get Costco delivered, which is a godsend. So I'm gonna get my rotisserie chicken. I took most of the skin off. I just don't personally like it. I kind of don't enjoy it. So I took the skin off, and now you're gonna put your rotisserie chicken into your Ziploc bag. You'll seal the bag. The hack is that you are basically just like massaging the meat off of the bone, because it's so tender, because it was rotisserie, slow roasted for ages, that it will really just fall off the bone, and you don't have to really get in there like you normally would. So I have to be honest though, I don't usually do this. This is normally a husband task if we have a rotisserie chicken. Most of the time I use a rotisserie chicken when I'm really short on time. So that's also like a great way to kind of divide and conquer for us, is my husband will easily do the chicken off the bone, because he wants to help and also knows I want to film all of this for y'all, so he usually does this. So for me, it was actually ended up being more work, but Try it out. Let me know if you like it. Again, I feel like it was like, I don't know, it was like a 7 out of 10, and like the cauliflower was like a 10 out of 10. That feels about right. So I'm gonna remove the pieces from the bag and get the bones separated. I'll use the bones for chicken stock. I'll toss them in my freezer because I definitely don't have time for that today. So I'll wrap this up and then be on to the next. And I don't think I've shared what I'm making with the rotisserie chicken yet. Yay! I'm gonna do a baked chicken, broccoli, cheesy, something delicious. I guess I need a better name for it. Maybe we should just go with cheesy broccoli chicken bake. Does that work? I'll get my broccoli into my bowl and I'll defrost in the microwave. And while that's defrosting, I'll get my sheet pans and my containers set up. Sorry y'all, this is a little bit off camera. I didn't mean it to be, but I just got my containers onto my sheet pan. I'm gonna actually start making this and assembling the sauce that goes with this. Start with some light cream cheese. This is just what I had. I had a spreadable version. Y'all know I don't meal prep every single day, so on Sundays I usually make something that's either not good for meal prep or just something that sounded really good. So I used this for something I made on a Sunday. I don't remember what I made, but I'm using almost a full container. There wasn't a ton that was already taken out of here. So I'll get that into my blender cup, and yes, I'm gonna get every little bit that's in here as much as I can, and we'll be on to the next ingredient. Next, I'm adding in some spices. I'm adding in some garlic powder, some onion powder, some salt, some pepper. You could use fresh onion and garlic if you prefer. This was just faster for me today, so that's what I did. So I'll add all my spices in there, and then once I do that, I'm gonna fill the container the rest of the way up with milk. You could use cream if you prefer, or if you really wanted to go, you could use whipping cream if you wanted it to be like really rich or like half and half, but I just had milk, so I use milk. I'll put the lid on this and I'll get this blended up. And there we have it, all blended, nicely distributed. It really, the cream cheese really was incorporated with the milk, so it really was like an even texture overall, so no like, you know, little bits of cream cheese in there. So we're all good here, and we'll move on to the next thing. I've got my rice is ready, so I'm gonna get this scooped into my bowls. And this week, I don't really know why, but I started with my husband's meals first. Usually I do mine first, and I guess no real reason other than just kind of the way I display them on the table. But I did my husband's meals first, so he gets a lot of rice, and then you can see how hot that is. So we'll get the rice in there, and this was just plain white rice. I didn't add any salt or anything. I knew all the flavoring would come at this stage. So my broccoli's defrosted, and I'm just gonna add that on there, kind of like puzzle piece it all together. Next, we're gonna add our rotisserie chicken. So I'm just gonna pile that right on top, just kind of evenly distribute it throughout the bowl. Yeah, I'll just kind of incorporate them together, and then I'm gonna pour some of our cream cheese mixture on top. And I kind of went with the idea of I could always add more, but I didn't have any more cream cheese, so I wanted to make sure every bowl got some of it first. And then I'm also gonna top with some pepper jack cheese because I wanted this to be a little bit spicy. And actually, that's probably a good thought. I could have definitely sprinkled some like crushed red pepper flakes on top of this too. We would have loved that as well, just for that little extra kick. But I know some of y'all don't like spicy, so keep it simple, keep it with things you like. I'll keep going on these and make the rest of my husband's bowls and then mine and these are going into the oven. So this is like, you know, updated, not boring chicken broccoli rice. This is like fun chicken broccoli rice, like chicken broccoli and rice with flavor, chicken broccoli and rice with some cheese, you know, some things that make me happy, bring me some joy. So I'll get all of these set, and then they'll go into the oven, and we'll be on to the next thing. And also, side note, my most sincere apologies. This video will not have as many side notes as it usually does. I am just, you know, I want to be real with you guys. So far, I've edited this video for over 10 hours, and I'm not done yet. So not a complaint, just telling you guys, just being real with y'all. I love doing this. I love sharing this. Right now, I'm a little tired, so I'm doing my best. I just had such an exciting and mentally taxing week at work this week that I had a great week, really. It just took a lot out of me. So thanks for understanding. Feel free to skip ahead if you want, or keep watching and supporting, because you know that helps us creators a lot when you watch every minute. So thanks for all of your support. Thanks for understanding, and thanks for being here, y'all. I really appreciate you. And while those bake in the oven, we're gonna get started on our dinner. I've never made this before. I've made a version of this before, but I've never made this meal before, so this was really interesting for me. You can see it probably starts off pretty similar to how many of my meals start, with some ground turkey and some ground chicken, and I'll get that sauteed up. And I'm actually going to make a gnocchi protein soup. So I'm going to get my pasta water boiling for my gnocchi. I always use my kettle to heat my water up when I boil pasta, or really boil anything. But I find that it actually boils a lot faster in the kettle than it does on the stove. So I usually use that little trick. And once my turkey and chicken are cooked all the way, I'll add in some diced onion and then also a mirepoix mix. It's so great to use these when you're short on time because they're pre-cut. It's amazing. Also in that time, my chicken, broccoli, cheesy bake was all done. So I got that out of the oven, and then I'm adding a ton of garlic powder here. Again, if I had fresh garlic, I probably would have used it, but garlic powder was great to save on some time. And also adding a ton of crushed red pepper. Next, I'm going to add a can of diced tomatoes. This is one that doesn't have any salt, and when I can find those ones, or when I have access to one without salt, I prefer it because I just want to control how much salt is in there. Just my own preference. Not usually something that matters to everyone, but it just is a little easier for me. So I added that in there, and then I'm going to fill the can up and add some water in too, just to kind of bring everything together. This will also help to deglaze my pan a little bit too. So I am going to use a jarred pasta sauce for this. I really just wanted to dress up this sauce a little bit. This is something that I like to do if I know I'm short on time. Like, this was a time crunched meal prep, and so it was really great to kind of use something that was pre-made, like this jarred sauce, but add some protein, add some other vegetables, so that I knew that I was just getting a few more nutrients. And this is that gnocchi that I'm using. It's from Trader Joe's. I had never tried it. I'd never seen no one's ever made it that I could ask if it was any good, so this really was a gamble, but I was really, really satisfied with this. I feel like I haven't made homemade gnocchi in a long time, but I feel like it was totally fine. It was a really great way to just have something different. Have you all tried gnocchi? Do you like gnocchi? Let me know in the comments. I feel like it's just a nice little something different. And yeah, I was really impressed with this gnocchi. So if you have a Trader Joe's near you, definitely try it out. And I'm not sure I've mentioned this before, but Trader Joe's really is the least expensive grocery store in all of New York City. There's Aldi's, but you have to have a car to get there, and all the local grocery stores are so expensive. I could definitely do a video on that for you all because it always blows my mind. Trader Joe's will be like half of the price of the grocery store that's literally on my block. So yeah, that's why I end up shopping there so much. Everything I buy there, I'm very satisfied with. So now that I drained my gnocchi into my sauce, I'll stir it up, and then I think that we're done. All that's left is plating everything. Yay! My baked cheesy chicken and rice and broccoli is all cooled off so they can go directly onto the counter. So I'll add those on here. Yes, I know, my OCD of spinning them so they all look the same direction, but you guys appreciate it, right? When you see a beautiful image at the end. Or if you don't, tell me, and then I'll just stop doing that part, I guess. I digress. I mean, look, these turned out pretty good. I'll give you a little close-up view. I'm happy with this, and the flavor was great. I really enjoyed it, and I feel like it felt like a really nice, fresh way to enjoy something that's usually really boring, like chicken broccoli rice. So it gets a good review from this chef. My husband rocked the waffles. He did a great job, although there were some that were a little small and questionable in there. I gotta ask him about that. Like, what happened to some of these tiny little ones? But absolutely delicious. Again, I think I already said how amazing these were, and these would be really great paired with an express egg on the other side. Really, really easy and delicious breakfast. Almost forgot that I had some of our little topping sauce left, so I added a little bit on top of each one, just gave everybody a little drizzle. And this also was just like, you know, a nice to have, not a must have, but definitely nice to just have that little bit. And then I also didn't waste what I had already made, so he didn't use it all, so I'm like, well, let's just toss it on top, and it was great. True question. Is she dancing because it's delicious, or is she dancing because she's almost done? The answer might be both. So we're on to that last meal, our gnocchi soup. Yum, yum. So good. Truly, guys, try the gnocchi. Let me know what you think, and I'll get these portioned out. And that's it, y'all. This chef is done. That's why she's got this giant smile on her face. Oh, there's nothing more satisfying than taking that apron off at the very end, because I know it's done. And I know the sacrifice I made today will serve me later in the week. Wishing you all a wonderful week ahead. Thanks so much for being here.